Andrew Leahy, farmer from Murraydarling and the new chair of the Water Council of Victorian Farmers Federation. Thanks for speaking with us on Flow.
Good morning to you.
Yeah, thanks for giving us some time today. We're talking about the Murray-Darling Basin and the Ministers' meeting occurring on Thursday. You've had some strong words to say about what needs to happen at that meeting when it comes to farmers in your district.
Look, we would like to see legislation put in place to stop any more buybacks, water coming out of our irrigation districts here. We've had a lot of water taken out or sold out already. The environment brought some, and obviously some people have done some other things to sell downstream. We just see a major problem in the future if any more leaves.
Yeah, the Commonwealth have said they've promised that there won't be any more buybacks, the Commonwealth Government, but you're saying you need something in black and white on that regard.
Obviously, ministers come and go. This has been a long-term plan. Different flavours of politics has been played at times, so if we see the legislation put in place, would alleviate that.
Yeah, because as we've talked about on Flow, covering this Murray-Darling debate during the year this year, the reason people are worried about buybacks is that we got a 2024 deadline on the Murray-Darling Basin plan, and really the federal government's got no option but to start buyback if states haven't achieved their water savings targets in that 605 gigalitres by that 2024 deadline. Is that right?
That's correct. And there's some projects there that probably won't get the result they need, and there's some other projects out there that may be able to be put in place to replace these. The flexibility of that is just hasn't been able to be achieved with locking these projects in with the 2024 plan.
Yeah, well, the Victorian Government, we went to them after your comments we found online, and then we checked in with a number of the state governments, and at the time we've recorded this interview, only the Victorian Government got back to us. They've talked about this constraints program, and they're saying they're not going to flood farmers' properties without their consent. It sounds to me like they're a very long way from getting the consent they need to get those flood easements going.
Well, I think I don't know the exact number, but I think there's up to 3,000 farmers that you'd have to put floodwater across. And I don't know whether you're going to get that. You won't get that in an agreement because I don't think it's fair to users to have that happen.
So how do we get to this point in the Basin Plan? It's a problem in New South Wales as well, where projects were identified for water saving, say like with Menindee Lakes in New South Wales and with this constraints flooding program in Victoria, but the local residents are absolutely dead against it. Why were they locked in the first place?
That's a political question. Look, and from my point of view, it's been a major political to lock those in, and I understand why governments did that at the time, because then they could see that would actually happen. But as I said to you earlier, it's been a large amount of time go past that things have changed. Climate change has changed a bit, and the rationale on how we can get these projects up with the numbers that they're all estimates at the time. The reality is things do change, and I think the plan hasn't been able to change with that.
Yeah. So with your call to wanting a legislated restriction on buybacks, there's probably two scenarios we'll go and talk about here to finish off. First of all, the scenario where the federal government says, okay, yes, we'll try and legislate our no buybacks promise. They'd have to amend the legislation that creates the Basin Plan, and they'd have to get through that both houses of Parliament. How do you think they'd achieve that?
Yes, good question. Look, if and we've heard from both sides of politics, or even the independents and the Greens, we don't want to make this a political plan, but the reality is it is, and if they were true to their word, they would see the socioeconomics of the whole thing and what's happened, and in the southern basin especially, where we've lost income from the water leaving. If it was a true, as I said, it was a true non-political thing, then that would be able to be achieved, but the reality is it's not.
And that's why at Flow we've kept an emphasis on this, even though we've had a La Nina cycle and things have been wetter and storages are good and allocations are good or better than they have been, and prices are much better than they have been, because we're sort of sleepwalking towards this 2024 deadline, and the parliamentarians don't seem to be ready to accept that we might need more time to achieve the listed projects. So let's say we can't get the Basin Plan legislation changed. The other scenario, which is what the Federal Water Minister Keith Pitt has said, he wants states to just get on with it and find those water savings targets. You mentioned alternate projects. What kind of alternate projects do you think could be reached to get those savings otherwise?
Look, I can't talk about other states, but there's.
But even in Victoria.
Again in Victoria, we've done another modernised. Look, found some more savings, a bit more modernisation in our GMID. There's just projects like that. There's probably look, I wouldn't like to name because I don't know how reality some of them are, but I know that the Department of Victoria have talked about putting some up, but
Well, it does seem at least your state government's in your corner in one sense. They're saying that there does need to be more time granted to reach these targets. So good on the VFF for being in batting on this, because it does look like some people are aware we are sleepwalking towards 2024 and not going to reach the targets. So good luck to you in finding a way to get a political or other solution.
Thank you very much.